So, my dear students, all smart and pumped with faith and confidence to crack the exam. Well, and so I welcome you on this lecture. This belongs to a science and tech section, and today's topic is a next generation launch vehicle, NGLV, features and the objective. Now question arises, is it relevant and why it is in the news? Why I have chosen this topic? Yes, in 2022 Engineers Conclave, S. Somnath, the chairman of Indian Space Research Organization, gave light on next generation launch vehicle, NGLV, and this next generation launch vehicle is about to replace PSLV. Till date now, PSLV and GSLV, polar satellite launch vehicles and the geosatellite launch vehicles are the horsepower of Indian Space Research Organization. You know, come to know more about next gen launch vehicle, NGLV. I told you already how is it relevant, why this topic of science and tech. See, next generation launch vehicle, NGLV, is to replace operational systems like PSLV. This is according to M.S. Somnath, ISRO chairman, while he was addressing 2022 Engineers Conclave in Thiruvananthapuram. PSLV, a polar satellite launch vehicle, is the horsepower of ISRO, and this NGLV will be an upgrade over the existing PSLV. Polar satellite launch vehicle, PSLV, know something about this, and then I will come on to NGLV. See, polar satellite launch vehicles, PSLV first launch was in 1994. Second point about this, and it has been ISRO's main rocket ever since. And third point, today's PSLV, however, vastly improved and several times more powerful than the ones used in 1990s. It is the first Indian launch vehicle to be equipped with liquid stages next to a PSLV. PSLV is the most reliable rocket used by ISRO to date, with 52 of its 54 flights being successful. Good and warm achievements on the part of the ISRO. Out of so-called 54 flights, 22 were successful. Okay. Next point, it successfully launched two spacecraft, Chandrayaan first in 2008 and Mars Orbiter spacecraft in 2013, that later traveled to Moon and Mars respectively. First one, so I told you, Chandrayaan traveled to Moon, and whereas a Mars Orbiter spacecraft made a journey to Mars. Then come to a geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle, GSLV. GSLV is a much more powerful rocket, meant to carry heavier satellite much deeper into space. To date, GSLV rockets have carried out 18 missions, of which 4 ended in failure. Rest was a success. It can take 10,000 kilograms of satellites to lower the Earth's orbit. The indigenously developed cryogenic upper stage, CUS, forms the third stage of GSLV MK second and MK third. Again to repeat, the indigenously developed cryogenic upper stage CUS forms the third stage of GSLV. MK2 and MK3 versions have made ISRO entirely self-sufficient in launching its own satellites. Before this, it used to depend on the European Ariane launch vehicle to take its heavier satellites into space. Geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle is a much more powerful rocket meant to carry heavier satellites much deeper into space. To date, GSLV rockets have carried out 18 missions. Just it's a repetition of which 4 ended in failure. And it can take 10,000 kilograms of satellites to lower the Earth's orbit. Actually, it's a repetition. Now, I come to know ISRO's NGLV that was projected by ISRO chairman in 2022 Engineers Conclave. NGLV, next generation launch vehicle. First point, ISRO's NGLV will be a 3-stage, mind it, will be a 3-stage reusable heavy lift vehicle. 3-stage reusable and third heavy lift vehicle, mind it. Second point of this, payload capacity will be, payload capacity of what? NGLV. Payload capacity will be around 10 tons to geostationary transfer orbit, whereas twice the capacity to low Earth orbit. Right? Now, if this NGLV is to put the satellites into what? GTO, geostationary transfer orbit, then now it could lift over the 10 tons. And now if it sends any satellite into low orbit, then just capacity will be double, that is 20 tons of the satellites. Okay. Third point, NGLV will feature a semi-cryogenic propulsion for the booster stages, which is cheaper and efficient. Very important point here. Potential applications will be in the areas of deep, remember, where NGLV will be used. The potential applications will be in the areas of deep space missions, launching communication satellites, future human missions, and cargo missions. This NGLV allows bulk manufacturing and the turnover time is minimal. Till now, are 2 satellites, just I told you in the beginning, PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicles, and GSLV, Geostationary Satellite Launch Vehicles, are the major launch vehicles used by ISRO for the satellite to launch. So, this way we find that now till date we have the 2 satellites, major satellites. One is the PSLV. This PSLV Polar Satellite Launch Vehicles just launch the satellites into the low orbit, and basically this PSLV deals with the so-called the Earth observation satellite, and also known as the remote sensing satellite. Means remote sensing satellites are being launched using PSLV, whereas now GSLV, it is the communication satellite, and GSLV will launch the communication satellite. And what is the height of the communication satellite? It is around 35,860 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Okay. So now these 2 satellites are about to be replaced by what? NGLV, next generation launch vehicle. Thanks for giving me patience listening.